Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, President Trump wants Congress to rescind more than $9 billion in already approved funding for public media like PBS. Also tonight, we'll hear about how a small provision in the national budget bill could cause big waves. And the state Senate takes a break as lawmakers work behind the scenes to come up with a new budget plan. Those stories and more next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your public television station.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Steve Goldstein, filling in for Ted Simons. President Trump has sent to Congress a request to claw back $9.4 billion in funds already approved by Congress, including $1.1 billion in funds for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which helps fund PBS and NPR. The rescission bill would cut money from USAID, which provides foreign aid. Other foreign aid spending would be cut, as well as the money for NPR and PBS. Lawmakers have 45 days to either approve the president's request or ignore it, in which case it would go away. The request can be approved with a simple majority vote, and House Speaker Mike Johnson vowed to act quickly on the president's request, but it may face more resistance in the Senate. We'll have more on this topic coming up shortly. A federal judge has ordered the government to immediately halt deportation proceedings against the wife and 5 children of a man charged in the firebombing attack in Boulder, Colorado on Sunday. The judge said the order was urgently needed to ensure the family's rights are protected. The family of suspect Mohammed Sabri Soliman have not been charged in the attack that injured 15 demonstrators calling for the release of Israeli hostages in Gaza. Soliman faces hate crime and attempted murder charges. Arizona regulators have set new rules for assisted living homes after an Arizona Republican investigation led to a new law on the issue. Under the new rules, assisted living companies will have to increase training and set up more stringent enforcement measures to protect those with dementia. The new rules go into effect next month, although one state official said they won't do full enforcement right away. All hikers have been accounted for after some unexpected rain caused flooding near the Grand Canyon at Havasu Creek. A group of hikers were stranded after up to 4 inches of rain fell on the basin feeding the creek. And the Phoenix Suns have a new coach. They have hired Cleveland Cavaliers assistant Jordan Ott after interviewing 15 candidates. Sources say the Suns' Devin Booker was in favor of the hire. Ott will be the 4th coach for the Suns in 4 seasons. President Trump formally asked Congress on Tuesday to rescind more than $9 billion in already approved funding for foreign aid and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. This change would affect local public broadcasting in the Valley, including Arizona PBS. Here to tell us more on what could happen next is Scott Woelfel, General Manager at Arizona PBS. Scott, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Let me ask you about this rescission part of it. We've heard in the past about cutting back funding for public broadcasting, but rescission, is this funding that stations like Arizona PBS have already committed to spending on projects?
It's to fund our budget for the upcoming year. And of course, it was approved, enacted, signed into law earlier. And so this, clawback is something that's fairly unprecedented and a big challenge to stations.
Well, so let me ask you about this. For folks who are passionate public broadcasting fans, every time there's a Republican administration typically, or good majorities of Republicans in Congress, this issue is sort of brought up. We'll see, should CPB get funding to give money to PBS, to give money to NPR? How is this particular situation different from the ones we faced before?
Stations are really battling on 2 fronts now because the ongoing conversation about future funding still exists. We're funded, CPB, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, is funded 2 years in advance, in part to take politics out of it. And so the discussions this fall would be ostensibly for the FY 28 and 29 budget. So the money that's talking about being clawed back, which I said was already enacted, is for the 26-27 years, and hence the $1.1 billion total for all of CPB. And that's it. We're really fighting on these 2 fronts and trying to make sure that we've got what we need to go forward.
So let's talk about a little bit misperceptions.
Yeah.
For those who focus just on political coverage, they may or may not find something to have disputes with, but there's so much more that public broadcasters like Arizona PBS do. I'm thinking in terms of serving rural communities, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been to Washington to talk to our legislators and try to explain this. In a lot of cases, it's not really known. Take education, for example. We have about 20% of our staff that's dedicated to education here. They're really not touching what's going on in the air. This is all outreach to the community, and it's all over the state, especially in underserved areas. We're helping students directly with preschool programs. If you look nationwide, about 50% of students don't have access to organized preschool. That's almost 80% in Arizona. And so we're stepping into that breach and helping kids get that head start. We're also helping teachers with professional development to get ahead, and lesson plans into classrooms. All those things are at risk with this funding cut.
There's a tremendous educational component. I've even seen sometimes on your website, there are things, and there have been hopes of getting more people who are almost ambassadors in the community, right?
We do. We have people all over the state, so we have employees who are all over the state, and we're also working in schools with teachers and principals and, of course, families. You know, an example is we have summer camps that we operate that help kids with, you know, early letter recognition, word recognition, the thing, you know, ages 2 to 5, the things they would be concerned with. And we see astonishing results. Kids, you know, getting 50% improvement, 100% improvement on those early childhood tasks, because of the camps that we run. That is funded through, in part, the money that we get from federal government. And those things are going to go away if we don't have these funds.
And I come back to the rural component just to say that it's not a case where if just the big markets survive, like let's say a market like Phoenix, if all were to go well, maybe Phoenix has enough people here who can support it, but when you go to smaller communities, that may not be the case.
That's true. I mean, we're in a bit of a unique situation here because between us and Arizona Public Media in Tucson, we cover about almost 100% of the state and 80% from Arizona PBS itself. And so you've got a large organization here that's reaching out to those other parts of the state. When you look across the country, there are states, Michigan has 8 public media stations in it. And so there are small communities that have their own station. Those are the stations that really are at risk. You know, we get about 10 to 12% of our funding from federal funding. In smaller stations, it could be 50 or 60%.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about content. This particular program, but there are many others. There's Horizonte. I don't know if Check Please fits into that, but Trail Mix. These are programs that are produced here specifically for this community. Let's talk about the importance of preserving those.
You know, the programming that we broadcast out, whether we're producing it ourselves or comes from BBC, PBS, of course, other places, that's what people know us most for. And that is also at risk through this. You know, I've been in conversations with people throughout the public media system, and conversations are already happening because this has not been a surprise, this rescission measure. You know, what do we do less of to weather this storm? And it's going to mean fewer programs, whether it's fewer episodes of popular programs like Nova or Masterpiece, or shows going away completely because the money's not there to fund them. That's what we're trying to sort through now. And the same is true with our local productions.
Yeah, well, viewers will notice the quality difference, one would think, right?
They will. They'll see more reruns, they'll see fewer shows, they'll see, you know, on the local front, you know, we're trying to expand, we're trying to do more content that's relevant to our viewers and that comes, you know, is created with the communities that we serve, and that's going to be hard to do.
One thing that comes to mind for me too, and there was an argument how many years ago it was, I can't remember now, but things that said, well, you know, there are cable networks or there are streamers that take care of certain things. And yet there are people in our communities who can't afford to have 5 streamers like some of us can, right?
Well, that's the main point, and that's a continuing argument. Well, you know, this is different. The Public Broadcasting Act in 1967 is like, might as well be centuries away. Well, true, but at the same time, we provide all these services for free to the public. And the other thing is that I think is often ignored in that idea is that educational programming on PBS is all created by and vetted by educational professionals. It's not created by an algorithm as some of the streaming services may be. And so it really is educational in the true sense of the word.
I want to ask you in a moment as we close up, but about call to action or whatnot. But at this point, I mean, you're in some of these meetings. We have a congressional delegation. Is there reason to think that though this is a major threat, that there are really ways through it, or are you on pins and needles right now?
I, like most GMs across the country, we're on pins and needles. And I think the good news, if I can impart you with some good news for you, is that the public may have a big say in what happens here. Support from the public is really going to help turn this, if it's going to turn for us. We've been asking over the last few months for support from our public, and we've seen a great response across the country. About 500,000 people across the country have reached out to legislators through an organized program that we have set up with other stations, and we're asking people now to step up and do even more.
Well, and Scott, as we close, finally, do you think that people are getting the message and saying, because there are times where, I mean, how many of us get things in the mail, we think, oh, okay, they're saying they need something, but this is real. Are you feeling that there's momentum to get assistance, and how would you like the public to react right now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we very intentionally do not cry wolf, and you don't see solicitation from us that says, you know, give us your money or we're going to go away, because that's not the case. But some of what we do can go away, and so that's where we're asking for, and we're not asking for money today. We're asking for communication to reach out to your legislators, and so we've got a graphic that we'll put up on the screen But Protect My Public Media is the name of the program. It's a joint venture between the PBS stations and NPR as well. And it's an easy way to connect to your legislators. You can go to the website. It'll very quickly connect you both digitally for email, but also in an automated phone call that then you can have with your congressional representative. And those are really important right now, the phone calls, because they pay attention to that. And we've seen a tremendous surge already, but we want to drive home even more. So I'm going to urge the audience, if you call today or you call tomorrow and you can't get through, call the next day, because this is really important to making our point.
Okay. Scott, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Saturday night at 10 on Arizona PBS.
The age of discovery is now. It's like magic.
Act like you're having a good time.
I am. Isn't it wonderful?
Hey, I can do better than that.
Brace yourself. The world's changing.
Very poetic.
Is one of the coolest animal stories on the planet.
This role as a caregiver is an emotional ride.
Be ready to be amazed and have that wonder.
There have been big waves in the national budget bill caused by a small provision. It appears the provision is there to make it harder to hold the government in contempt of court. To discuss more on this topic, we welcome Robert McWhirter, constitutional law expert. Welcome back. Thank you very much for being here.
Good to be here.
Okay, so what does this provision amount to? In essence, it almost feels like it is written in some sense to benefit the Trump administration?
Oh, yes, that's the idea.
Okay.
It's kind of a sleight of hand. They're not saying that we're going to get rid of the power of a judge to do nationwide injunctions. What we're doing is changing a little bit Rule 65C that says you have to post a bond before you get that injunction for the value of the loss of whatever the injunction causes if you end up losing your ask for the injunction. So it in essence wipes it out. Because who can afford a $1 billion bond on a trade issue if you're bringing that to court and asking for the injunction of what the administration is doing, let's say on trade or whatever else?
So is it appropriate to you that this would be in a massive budget bill?
Absolutely not. In fact, in the Senate, there's this thing called the Byrd Rule, named after Robert Byrd, not Larry Byrd, who was the Boston Celtics, but Robert Byrd, senator from West Virginia. And what it says is that a provision that is not related to the budget doesn't go into the budget rules, which is a simple vote, but then should be decided by the Senate with a normal vote, which allows for filibuster and 60 votes. So I think this kind of thing could be knocked out just on that basis, but that's the game that's going on right now.
I hate to ask you a basic question because we don't have a lot of time, but can you just remind viewers what due process is and why it's so vital in our Constitution?
Well, due process is the process that you are due. It used to be called the law of the land at Magna Carta. And it's what it says is that everybody has a right to expect a process like, oh, if you're charged with a crime, you're advised of the crime. You have a right to a lawyer. All these rights that happen. And everybody has a right to that, including people who are in the country without documentation.
So what do you make of this strategy and this approach? I mean, this is something that we know things are always political, but in a sense to put this into a bill or attempt to and have something related to the Constitution in a budget bill, is this just political strategy?
Well, if it is, it's not very good strategy because everybody catches it. Now, unless, of course, we're worried about things in that bill that we're not catching, this is the kind of thing that raises a flag, and it was just put in there because they're trying to perpetuate this argument that they're somehow being treated unfairly by this injunction process. The administration is not. And the injunctions are being issued by judges that were appointed by Trump himself as well as other judges. It is more a comment on the lack of quality of their constitutional positions than any secret cabal of judges trying to block the administration.
If the Senate were to decide this provision should remain and President Trump goes on and signs it, is this something that will, without question, be challenged in the courts?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it actually ends up going to the U.S. Supreme Court to say whether this statute to limit the power of the court is constitutional.
Okay. And we cannot predict in any way what the Supreme Court would do.
That's real reading tea leaves, if we want to go there.
Right. Well, so when you're looking at it right now, what are you thinking about? Do you think that the Senate will act, especially now that this has become so public, will the Senate say, let's not make any more trouble for ourselves in something that really should be related to to budget and not necessarily protecting a particular administration?
I think so, and because, look, the House sent it over with this very careful compromise between basically the Republicans to appease the members that wanted more deficit hawks, and they want that package to come out. This is a throwaway. This is just nothing to do with the budget. So I think that they can get rid of this without offending this delicate balance that they have, if they can keep that balance together.
As we wrap up here, briefly, what are your concerns generally about something like this? When you hear about this, are you thinking, okay, as you said, it's a little awkward, not the best approach, but if something like this does advance, does it give future administrations the idea, we can try this too, and let's test the Supreme Court over and over again?
Oh, absolutely. And what the underlying problem here is this is just part of an attack on the courts because they don't like what the courts are ruling. Well, you know, when you're the administration, when you're out of power, you're always complaining about that, and they complained about Joe Biden the same way. So sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander in these things, and that's what you'd always keep in mind.
Okay. Bob McWhirter, thank you.
My
Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Arizona has less than a month to complete a state budget before a government shutdown. It has been reported the state legislature has taken a 2-week break. Reasons for the budget delay include uncertainty over state tax revenue and the extension of Proposition 123. With more information, we're joined by Republican State Senator T.J. Shope from District 16. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about this break concept, because now we're into June. So people are going to say to themselves, are we going to wait till June 30th? Is there progress behind the scenes that people can be optimistic about?
Absolutely. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about what a break actually is. A break essentially means that we've reached the end of the available bills to be voted on at this point in time, and rather than having members drive in 6 hours away from the Navajo Nation or 5 hours away from Sierra Vista to just come in, do the Pledge of Allegiance, pray, and then adjourn for the day, we're going to let them go ahead and stay home, so that way we can figure out what we wanted to have in the budget and go to negotiate with the House and the governor's office.
Now, in leadership, as you are, is it difficult? Do you get calls from your caucus saying, hey, I want to know more about what's going on? Just tell me a little bit more about that.
Look, the Senate Republican caucus, we have a very open and candid conversations quite often. We get together for lunch on a weekly basis to talk about these things. So there really are very few surprises among us. And as I think anybody who follows the Capitol knows, that there are no secrets within the walls of the building or as soon as you walk out of the building. Everybody knows what we are working on, what we're working toward, and that is something that we can get 16, hopefully even more than that. Hopefully we can have, as we've seen the last 2 years, we've had over 20 votes in the Senate and over 40 votes for budgets in the House.
Are there disagreements between the two bodies? I mean, is there even an issue that is a little bit still, Senate disagrees a bit with the House?
I think it's broader than that. Are there probably issues that we disagree with on line-by-line bases? Absolutely. However, I think the approaches have been a little bit different. The Senate, as you've seen over the last 2 years, has really taken to a member-driven concept where members come in with their priorities and the leadership flows from a bottom-up, if you will, from the backbench to the leadership team. Whereas I think the House has sought to maybe return to a more of a leadership-driven budget, which is their prerogative. I used to be in the House for 8 years. I wouldn't have wanted the Senate telling me what to do and how to approach this, so I understand that. But it is a difference in the concept of how we budget. At the end of the day, we come together and we approach the governor's office as we have been doing this week, and I look forward to the white smoke of the budget being hatched in the next week or two.
Okay. Is there, as I mentioned in the introduction, the concept of not necessarily agreement on state revenues? For some, there's a surplus. For others, there's a deficit. But also Proposition 123.
Right.
So are those, in fact, the issues that, whether they're holding up the budget or just the most impactful things?
So I think the most important thing to remember about Prop 123 is, even though we've kind of taken a pause on where we're going to go in Prop 123 this session, and we'll go ahead and pick it up next year, those dollars are already accounted for in the budget that was built last session. So the $300-ish million. One of the reasons why the state budget overall is going to be larger than last year's is because of the dollars that are going into backfill 123. So we had that in mind. We'll pick that up next session, but in the meantime, we'll get this thing done in the next, I'd say, week to 10 days.
Okay, so you're optimistic, and we love hearing that. But at the same time, the governor's relationship has not always been great with Republican leadership.
I've been there for 13 years, served with 3 different governors. The governor's revenue projections at the beginning of session are always different than what the legislature's revenue projections are. We generally, whether it's Republican or Democrat, traditionally have taken a more conservative angle on what the revenue looks like going forward. And we actually craft the budget over the course of 3 years, looking ahead in that period of time, right? So I get it. That always happens. We come together at the end every time and get it figured out, and then we go and lay the arms down and ready for the fight the following year.
Now, we are not technically in an election year right now. But
are we not? I mean, I don't know. There's been rallies over the weekend and things like that.
But are there issues that perhaps there's been major disagreement between the two parties or the governor has vetoed something? Are there issues that come to mind for you that may, in fact, live later in the session?
Look, I think that it wouldn't be Arizona if we weren't talking about immigration issues. And I know you discussed some of that in the previous segment. Those things are what we have considered based on the November election results, that the voters of Arizona, I think, are more in line where we are in the Republican caucus of pushing that issue. So we've definitely tried to highlight some of those differences with the governor. No, part of it is we just want to make sure people know that there's a reason why we're here, and we expanded our majorities over the last election cycle. And sure, there's an election coming up in another year. So I think that both sides of us try to go ahead and highlight those differences where we feel that the public is behind us. And that's why you've seen some of the bills that we've sent up. Yeah, they've gotten vetoed. We wish they'd been signed. However, we're going to go ahead and make sure everybody knows that they got vetoed as well, because it helps fire up our base, right? So.
Well, you are an insider, so I'm going to trust you on the week to 10 days.
Yes.
Not wait till June 30th.
We are definitely not waiting till June 30th. I can guarantee that.
Senator Shope, good to see you. Thanks
you
so
bet.
much.
Absolutely.
That's all for this edition of Arizona Horizon. I'm Steve Goldstein in for Ted Simons. Thank you so much for watching.
Hello, I'm Alice Ferris, and we hope you enjoyed Arizona Horizon. For more than 40 years, viewers in Arizona have relied on Arizona Horizon for